Today we're going to do a review of all the different kinds of words that, well, you should know little symbols for. And that's why this review is called, What Kind of... Wait a minute. Who crossed out word? What do you... Okay, you know what? I get it. Because you know what? Words are ideas, right? I mean, they're the smallest form of little pieces of ideas. We use words in order to express, either in speaking or in writing, certain ideas. And then we collect all of these words or little pieces of ideas together in order to create complete thoughts, which are called sentences, right? So I guess this makes sense. We can work with this. What kind of idea is it? And this should be a review? What? This should be a review. So let's start with the symbols or the kinds of words that you know. Okay, you should already know that the square stands for a noun. And there's 4 different kinds of nouns. That's why you can use a square or, a rectangle or a rhombus or a parallelogram, any kind of 4-sided, 4-cornered shape that you can draw to remember nouns, okay? 4 kinds. There's a person, a place, a thing, which includes living and non-living things, and ideas. Those are the 4 kinds of nouns. Those are all the things that we can talk about in sentences, okay? So we need to be able to take ideas and put them into things that we can talk about using words. We call those words nouns. Those are the things that we talk about. And of course, in sentences, when we're creating our complete thought, the idea of the thing, the person, the place, or the idea has to do or be something. So we need at least one other verb in order to create a sentence, and that would be a verb. Okay? Verbs, we're using a circle because circles can remind you of the circular watch on some of your wrists or the circular clocks on some of your walls. But that's a really popular shape for a clock, and one of the important jobs of a verb is to tell you the time. And remember, we call that tense when we're talking about verbs. There are a total of 12 tenses in the English language. You don't need to know all of them yet. You'll learn them later, okay? But for now, just know 2 basic kinds of verbs. Action verbs, where your noun is doing something, and being verbs, where your noun is being something. And of course, if your noun is being something, we need to know what that is. So we will commonly use adjectives to help describe or define the noun after a being verb. And that's what adjectives do. Adjectives are words that we use to help take this general idea of a noun and narrow it down into something more specific. And we can use lots of adjectives all together to get a clearer picture of what exactly we're talking about. Okay? So adjectives are words that are used to describe nouns. Only nouns. Adjectives don't do anything else. They just give more information about nouns. They generally answer the question, what kind? Okay? Through descriptions. And then we have adverbs. Remember, the shape for the adverb is a little strange, but it's to help you remember the adverb's job. It's like a balloon or an upside down teardrop. It's a combination of the circle and the triangle for the adjective, because that's what adverbs do. They describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Any other idea that can get more information, that can be described, is described using these kinds of words. Lastly, our last shape, we only have 5 total, is the plus sign, and we use that for prepositions. Prepositions are usually little words that we use to give us additional information, usually about nouns, okay? And remember, you just hopefully you can remember that you learned a little bit about prepositional phrases, and that additional information, when it's in a prepositional phrase, would start with a preposition, would have a noun somewhere at the end of the prepositional phrase, and that information can be taken out of the sentence, and you would still have a complete thought. Not every preposition in a sentence will behave like that. It won't always be in a prepositional phrase, but that's one way that you can help figure out what the job is in the sentence. I get it. That's why we're talking about ideas, because now we need to talk a little bit about phrases. So what exactly is a phrase? Well, you should already know this. A phrase is a group of words that come together to create one idea. Thank you. This is really important.
You're welcome.
I'm in the middle of something here. Do you mind?
Sorry.
Okay. I guess Denny crossed it out. But this is really important, and I'm glad he did, okay? Because phrases, you can identify the kinds of phrases in a sentence, you can group words together under one symbol, and it just makes understanding the sentence so much easier. But first, let's do a quick review of the different kinds of phrases, okay? So, obviously you can have noun phrases. You can have words that go together to create one idea of one noun or one thing or one person or one idea, right? You can have that. Often, what you'll come across that's hard to identify are gerund phrases. Remember, a gerund is verb ing without the be verb that is being used to act like the idea of the action, generally speaking. And those will often be found in phrases as subjects, objects, objects of prepositions, but they'll be used as nouns in sentences. But what you can do with these gerund phrases is group the words together and just put them all under one idea, one square, one noun. And we can have different verb phrases. And that phrase in and of itself, verb phrases, can be a little confusing. I mean, you can think of one tense having many words to create one idea, like present tenses or present progressive tenses, they require be verb ing. You have to have two words in order to create the verb in every tense. In the past, present, and future, you need at least two words, but it's one idea. Okay, so that might be one example of a verb phrase. But you can also have phrasal verbs. This is different. This is when you have a verb and you add a preposition after the verb, usually, to give the actual verb word a totally different meaning. Think of the verb to give. If I give something, that's one idea. But what if I give up? Do I do this? No! I do this! I quit! Totally different meaning. That would be a good example of a phrasal verb. Adding the preposition up to the verb give changes the meaning in your sentence, okay? Then we could have adjective phrases. Again, this could just be groups of words to create one description of a noun. You'll come across different adjective phrases, but probably the most common are going to be your participial phrases. And remember that you can have two kinds of participles. You can have past participles, which are really easy to identify if the verb is regular, because in the simple past tense it ends in ed and the participle is the same. But if the verb is irregular, well, past participles can be a little bit of a headache or a handful. You gotta learn the different kinds of verb forms, and participles by themselves are always going to be adjectives. They require other words to make them verbs, the be verb or the verb to have, depending on the tense. You'll get into all that later. The important thing is that you can have past participles in phrases with other words acting like adjectives. You can also have present participles. They look exactly like the gerund, it's just verb ing. So what's important is that you're able to identify the job. What is the word doing in the sentence? Is it describing a noun, or is it acting like a noun? That's the entire difference between gerunds and present participles. So if the verb ing doesn't have the be verb before it, it's one of these two. It's either the present participle or it's the gerund. And we're going to hopefully help you figure out which. Then we have adverb phrases. These are often prepositional phrases, but they're functioning like adverbs, which means they're not exactly removable from the sentence the way a true prepositional phrase would be. For example, if I'm leaving in 10 minutes, well, it's not true to just say I am leaving. That in 10 minutes is really actually important to the full sentence. I can't just take it away and not change the meaning of the entire thought. So what that in 10 minutes does is it tells me when I am leaving. It's modifying my verb. It's modifying leaving. Am leaving. Okay? So that would be an example of an adverb phrase. Usually they're prepositional phrases, and you have to be able to tell, is it necessary to the thought, or can I get rid of it? If you can get rid of it, you probably have a prepositional phrase. Because remember, prepositional phrases begin with a preposition, end with a noun, and usually you can just take them out. And usually they're giving you more information about nouns. That's a true prepositional phrase. Now, let's get into some examples. So sometimes after a long weekend or a little vacation, I'll come to class looking the way I look right now, and my students will look at me and go, "Teacher!" And I take that to mean, "Teacher, why haven't you shaved?" And what I tell them generally is, well, I don't like shaving. And that's just true. I used to have a job where I had to shave every day. And sometimes, it cuts you because it's a blade on your skin, and sometimes it just pulls, and I never liked it, okay? It was never something that I enjoyed doing, and given the choice, I prefer not to. I mean, I'll clean it up. Anyway, the point is, I don't like shaving. That is a complete thought. That is a sentence. It has a subject, I am the subject of this sentence. It has a verb, do is a verb. It has an adverb, not. Technically, within this contraction here, not can be separated out as describing or negating the do. Negations are generally adverbs or adjectives. And then like is another verb, and this is what I do not like. This is shaving, the gerund, the noun. But what you can do is, you can see you don't have to go through every single word and every single shape. And that's going to get much more important later. It's really simple. I am the subject. Don't like is my verb. That's the idea that you want to get across. And shaving is my object. That is what I don't like. And it can obviously get more complicated. I am not growing out my beard on purpose. I mean, obviously it's not like an accident. I'm just not shaving. I just don't like it. So there's no reason behind it per se. And if I take this thought, this complete sentence, and I break down every little word, then you see it gets really complicated. I am the subject. That's noun, verb, adverb, verb, preposition, adjective, noun, preposition, noun. That's a lot of shapes, and if you just look at that, you're not really going to get a good sense of what this idea, what this complete thought is saying. So let's break it down. What are the important ideas? Well, you need to know the subject. And again, it's really easy. I, and then you see be verb, so you know this is the end of the subject. I am the subject. Now, what is happening? What am I doing, or in this case, not doing, in this sentence? If you say, I am not growing out my beard on purpose. So, where does the idea of the action stop? Can I say, I am not growing? Well, no, that's not this thought. That's not the same thing. So I can't find the preposition and say, oh look, prepositional phrase, because that doesn't make sense. I can't stop here. It's not the same idea. And phrases have to go together to create one idea. It has to be complete. And it can't change the meaning. Because it's true. Out my beard, you could look at that and go, that's a prepositional phrase. But it's not. In fact, growing out is my phrasal verb. And I could connect that if I wanted, and then my beard could be what I am growing out, but can I just say, I am not growing out? Does that make sense? This is part of the idea of the action, okay? So all of these words, am not growing out my beard, simplify it and just make that your verb. That's all we need to know. That's all I need to know, and that's going to help you immensely understand complicated sentences. I am not growing out my beard on purpose. And on purpose here, is it necessary? Well, it's describing the action, right? It's saying this action is on purpose or not on purpose. It's part of the not, essentially. But this is an adverb, okay? It's giving more information or describing the action, okay? So I can't just take it out. I can't say, I am not growing out my beard. Because, frankly, you can look at me and say, that's not true. So there has to be more information, and it's important. So you can't leave it out as a prepositional phrase. It's important to this idea, and it's describing something to make the sentence factual, to make it true. Let's look at one last complicated idea. Shaving every day, making me wake up earlier, annoys me in every way. I just think back to that job. Shaving every day. Ugh. Okay, let's break it down. Shaving every day, again, instead of going noun, adjective, adjective, noun, verb, preposition, adjective, verb, noun, preposition, adjective, noun, we can simplify it. This is what I am talking about. I am talking about the idea of shaving every day. These two words have to go together. It's one idea. Shaving might annoy me, but shaving every day annoys me in every way. Okay, so shaving every day is my gerund phrase, and that is my subject noun. Making me wake up earlier is describing what shaving every day does. Okay, so it's part of the description. This is cause and effect. This is giving you more information about why it annoys me so much, okay? So shaving every day, making me wake up earlier, annoys. This is my verb. This is the first separation between subject and verb, okay? And who does it annoy? What does shaving every day annoy? It annoys me. This is the direct object of all of this information. Now, can I stop there? Can I say, shaving every day annoys me? Yes, I can. I could put a period, which makes this a true prepositional phrase. It is not necessary information, but it does give you more information about this whole idea. How does it annoy me? In every possible way it annoys me. So now you don't have to ask the question, teacher! Here's your answer. And I've simplified it as best I can. Let's review.
What kind of idea is it? What are the 5 different kinds of words and their respective shapes? Nouns are squares, verbs are circles, adjectives are triangles, adverbs are balloons or ice cream cones, prepositions are plus signs. What are the 4 kinds of nouns? Person, place, thing, and idea are the 4 kinds of nouns. What are the 2 main kinds of verbs? Action and being verbs are the 2 main kinds of verbs. How are adjectives and adverbs the same? How are they different? They both describe other words or ideas. Adjectives only describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs, never nouns. What is a phrase? A phrase is a group of words that go together to create one idea. What is one kind of phrase for each of the 5 kinds of words? Noun phrases, gerund phrases, verb phrases, phrasal verbs, participial phrases, adverb phrases, and prepositional phrases. What are participles? What are the 2 kinds of participles? Participles are words formed from verbs that are used as adjectives. There are past and present participles. What are 3 ways the word running can be used? Give an example for each. The word running could be used as a verb. Fred is running home as fast as he can. It can be used as a gerund or noun. Running is good exercise. It can be used as a participle or adjective. Running children should be careful. Examples may vary. What is true about a true prepositional phrase? A true prepositional phrase can be moved or removed from a sentence. What is the main idea in this lesson? The words and phrases can be grouped together to form one kind of idea in a sentence.